Digimon is an intellectual property that has always been compared to Pokemon. Aside from sharing the suffix mon, which is used to denote the word monster, there are some similarities in certain creatures. The detail is that Pokemon has always overshadowed this franchise, which has led to it being underappreciated. Digimon's popularity came from its anime series, which is far superior, as it features a much more complex story arc. Meanwhile, Pokemon's appeal has been its games and their marketing, while its anime has stagnated and repeats the same formula in every episode, being a carbon copy with character changes. That is, they arrive at a new place, find a new Pokemon, Team Rocket tries to steal it, and is defeated. This is what has monopolized the theme. This is in regard to the anime, but when it comes to its games, it's undeniable that Pokemon is the undisputed king, as many games where you train creatures base their gameplay on it, and Digimon has not escaped this trend. In many games, we can see this influence, but there is one that, unfortunately, was not very successful. However, if they had continued down that path, it might have a different status, far from being seen as a copy. That is Digimon World. Digimon World was developed by Bandai, which holds the rights to this franchise, and was distributed by the same company. It was released in 1999 exclusively for the PlayStation. This release happened in Japan, while later years saw it come out in America and Europe. It is a training RPG, meaning we control a character who is joined by a creature that is entirely under their care and training to become stronger. There is some confusion, as the game was based on the gameplay of a toy called the V-Pet, a virtual pet similar to a Tamagotchi that we had to care for, feed, and clean, which could die. However, in this type, you could battle others, making the experience more social and interactive, not based on the anime series. The game takes these mechanics from the aforementioned toy. The game begins when a child is absorbed into their V-Pet, all orchestrated by Digimon. He tells the child that his world is in crisis, as the Digimon have started losing their memory, becoming wild and violent for unknown reasons, abandoning File City. Thus, this place has lost its splendor. At that moment, we meet our partner, who can be either Agumon or Gabumon, depending on our choices. So, they require our cooperation to reason with the wild inhabitants, so they return home and to find the cause of this incident. To start, we have an overhead view and move across the scenario from screen to screen. While the game tends to be very complex, to begin with, it can be divided into two parts. The first is the care aspect. At our disposal, we have a Digimon which has different needs, such as eating, sleeping, and going to the bathroom. Its stats change as days pass in the game's time. For example, while it eats, its size increases, but when it goes to the bathroom or sleeps, it will decrease. All these events are indicated with a speech bubble showing what it needs, and if we ignore its request, we accumulate errors. For instance, if it wants to go to the bathroom, you have to take it to the toilet. Otherwise, it will leave feces on the ground, adding an error. At this point, the gameplay is like a virtual pet. You also have to train it in different machines or devices to increase its stats. In this game, you don't level up, you simply increase these stats when it exercises, allowing you to focus on what you want. If you abuse the exercises, it will get tired and could suffer another error. It also has two indicators, one for happiness and one for discipline, which will increase or decrease depending on our actions. For example, if we pat it, it will be happier, but its discipline will decrease. Or if we try to get an item to use, like a portable toilet, and it refuses, we can scold it, which will increase both bars. The second type is combat. While exploring, we will encounter different wild Digimon, which we can dodge if we want to avoid them. If we touch them, we enter combat. While in a fight, we can only give orders to our Digimon. That is, it will do as it pleases, and may even stand still admiring nothing during a battle. As we increase its intelligence, it will understand more orders like defending, moving away, or performing a specific move. But even so, it will act autonomously. The only thing we can help it with is throwing items to heal it or other types. Its health and its move bar are in the upper right corner. HP is its life and will decrease when it takes hits. When it reaches 0, it will be knocked out, and we have a limited time to revive it with some chip that does this function. If it doesn't receive it, it will lose the fight and lose a life. They have 3 lives, and if they lose all of them, they will die, causing a reset, starting again from an egg. Meanwhile, MP is spent whenever it performs an attack, and when it reaches 0, it won't attack anymore. You must be careful with these indicators, as they are only restored by items or after we have slept. A special attack also activates. This is unique to each Digimon and can be performed by completing the word finish, which unleashes an attack that costs nothing and can be powered up by pressing the R1 and L1 buttons simultaneously. During battles, status conditions can also appear, such as poisoning, confusion, or transforming the Digimon into an LCD version. This event makes its attacks very weak, unable to defend, and it takes more damage. Upon winning a fight, we receive points in our stats, but very few compared to training, along with money and some items. If we don't want to fight or are losing, we can choose to flee. The appeal of this type of game is having a monster that gets stronger over time and eventually changes its appearance, becoming even stronger. In this game, digivolution happens in a unique way. Firstly, they're not governed by a single evolutionary line. They can evolve into different Digimon depending on certain factors. There are 5 ranks for your Digimon. Fresh, which are newly hatched Digimon. In training, slightly larger Digimon, but still unable to fight. Rookie, young Digimon capable of defending themselves in combat. Champion, those who have managed to evolve into a stronger form. And Ultimate, the final version they can reach, which are naturally the most powerful. In this case, Digimon evolve by time, not by experience. That is, when they reach a certain age in the game, they will change without us doing anything. The first 3 ranks are very easy to control, but then comes the complicated part, and the reason this game is so unique. Remember how we could alter certain factors in the care section? Well, these help guide our Digimon to evolve into what we want when it reaches the right age. Factors like weight, errors committed, number of battles, happiness, discipline, and reaching certain stat thresholds will determine which evolutionary line it follows from Rookie when it reaches a specific age. But if it doesn't meet any of the requirements, any Rookie will evolve into Numemon, a coprophagic slime, which, as a prize, gets a very drastic decrease in its stats. However, it's useful for eating the poop left around the world. To get any other evolution, you have to play with the stats. Some types require committing a certain number of errors, having a certain weight, a certain percentage of happiness or discipline, or even being unhappy or a rebel. The problem is that the game doesn't tell you exactly what you need, and the only way is to find a guide. The same happens with the ultimate evolution, but since these are fewer in number, they're much harder to get. Having a Digimon at its maximum capacity is very useful and practical, so sometimes we'll have to force certain variables to obtain them. There are also special conditions. For example, if the error bar fills up, it will evolve into Sukamon. It can also happen after losing a fight or sleeping in a certain place. You can also evolve them to save time by giving them certain items, which, regardless of their evolutionary line, will turn them into that Digimon. When a Digimon reaches a certain age, it will die, and the whole process will reset. No matter what you have or where you are, it will always happen, and you'll have to start from the beginning with the stats, while keeping items, money, and acquired skills, but having to start training again. Now, to continue with the game, you must find the Digimon that have lost their memory. Most of them will come to their senses after being defeated in battle, so it's necessary to have your partner very well trained. Others will ask you to meet certain conditions, such as beating them in a mini-game or simply talking to them. Once they come to their senses, they will return to the town, and it will begin to grow. Each one contributes different things, from aesthetic changes to, most importantly, opening facilities. In these, we will find very important things like the bank that lets you store items, shops that allow us to buy items and improve over time to sell better things, hospitals, transport, opening sections of the map, or just adding their presence. The important thing about the city growing is that it helps us become faster at obtaining evolutions much more easily, as some will change certain things that allow us to quickly increase variables. There is no specific order for finding them, but we must meet certain requirements for some, or open sections to reach them, where we must find them and start conversation. These Digimon differ from the wild ones as they have a unique color, while the others are just there to fight. However, if we have a Digimon that is compatible with their techniques, it might learn new skills, which allows you to fight better and make your life easier. The world is divided into different regions, each with its own specific enemies, while our Digimon might be compatible with these areas, making them happy. But if they are not, their happiness will decrease. Also, some sections will be blocked until you have a compatible Digimon. To navigate, you must do so by memory or using the signposts, as we don't have a map. Apart from the city we're rebuilding, there are other towns ruled by other bosses who will help us or sell us items. To save our progress, you can only do so when our Digimon goes to sleep. This forces you to finish its cycle, which can be annoying because if you have to stop playing, you must reach this moment to save your progress. Aside from evolving and fighting, we can fish and collect cards. Added to this, we can fight in the Colosseum when we unlock it to get evolutionary and rare items, with the same mechanics as regular fights. It should also be noted that you can play with 2 players, which is done with another person who has a save on a memory card, and we will have fights very similar to those in the Colosseum. The game has a very complicated evolution system, as they don't tell you anything. I get the impression that this was done to force people to buy the official guides. However, when you figure out how to get certain Digimon or get a guide, it's very rewarding to do it. But it feels like the game is very long because of the time this takes. It's also a bit disheartening to lose your Digimon to old age, as it's frustrating to start from scratch. At least if you've advanced, this is shortened by the city's progress. Something that is very bad is that in Europe, the game is unbeatable, as there's a bug where an argument gets stuck and you won't be able to progress and therefore finish the game. This doesn't happen in the American and Japanese versions. You can use cheats to break the bug, but it's still terrible that the company released a legally unbeatable game. I would recommend it for its complexity and non-linear gameplay, since you can advance at your own pace or in whatever way you can. Seeing the city progress is rewarding. Not being forced to follow a single evolutionary line also allows you to plan which is best for you, and sometimes get a Digimon unexpectedly. Although its ultimate version has a very short lifespan. So if you like exploring in a Pokemon-type RPG where you aren't guided, this game is very good. I wouldn't recommend it to people from Europe, as it's a game that can't be finished unless you get the American or Japanese version. People who hate Tamagotchis will also hate this game, as having to constantly care for them and take them to the bathroom can become annoying and disrupt the flow. Something very mediocre is the animations, as the main character looks like an inflatable doll. Due to its different gameplay and being somewhat rare, it can be somewhat expensive to get, and the problem is that it can only be acquired originally in physical format for the PlayStation. So, if you look for it, you might have a hard time finding it. It's a pity that Bandai didn't bet on this gameplay and refine it in its sequels. Instead, they delivered games that, in my opinion, declined and tried to be similar to Pokemon, ending up in the shadows as cheap clones. It would have been interesting to see how much the original concept could have evolved. As a mix of Tamagotchi and RPG, it's a tedious game, but one that can be enjoyed. That is Digimon World. I hope you liked the video. If so, give it a like. If you know someone who might enjoy it, share on your social media, and don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. If you have any questions, have any suggestions, or just want to comment, don't hesitate to do so in the comment box below. Also, if you're a big fan of this channel, hit the notification bell to be among the first to see the videos. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you next time. Goodbye.